Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here and welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So for today's video, we're going to focus on 10 fragrances that I would consider some of the most impressive selections, additions, whatever you want to call it, in my collection. They are impressive to me because they had an impact on me when I first smelled them, and that impact remains to this day. To be fair, there are two new fragrances here, so it's kind of hard to say that, but I still remember when I first smelled them, so I can kind of apply that to the video. And honestly, in my opinion, I think if other people smell them, they could have that same impact in terms of just smelling exceptional, really. Just smelling apart from what they might typically smell a person wearing on a given day. This is more so about my own experience, to be completely honest, and I'm sure many of you guys have fragrances that would have a similar impact. So once again, got 10 of them, impressive scents. Let's go ahead and get the video started, but before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, first up is coming from the house of Le Labo. This is Tabac 28. Le Labo Tabac 28. I've told the story a few times on the channel. I'll give you the abridged version now. This was the time of year when this fragrance in particular from Le Labo is available in the boutiques outside of Miami, as this is a city exclusive. They happen to have it here in Orlando, so I just asked a sales associate there I know, do they have it? She said yes, went and smelled it. I bought it right there on the spot. I wasn't planning on buying anything that day. This is one of the few fragrances where I can say I had to kind of reshuffle some finances to be able to pick it up, but this fragrance blew me away then. It still does it now. This is really good. Just nice tobacco leaves soaked in rum, so it's quite boozy. There's a little bit of a smoky element to it by way of, there's like gaiac wood in here. There's some oud in here that might be playing into that smokiness as well. But the tobacco leafy nature of it, if you've ever just smelled tobacco leaves on its own, it has a particular scent to it. I think that is very well represented in this fragrance. And there's a little bit of spice too, some cardamom in here to just add a spicy element, just another facet to the scent. And I just love the way this stuff smells. This basically puts me in the mindset of being in a nice cigar lounge, like celebrating something as a man with other men. That's just what this fragrance paints a picture of in my mind. So once again, from the house of Tabac 28, I'm sorry, from the house of Le Labo, this is Tabac 28. Next one's coming from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is gonna be Amyris Homme Extrait Parfum. Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Amyris Homme, the Extrait version. When I first got my nose on this scent, way back when I got this, my nose on this pretty early on in my fragrance journey, I literally did a happy dance. No, I am not going to show it to you guys. But yeah, I literally smelled it. I was like, this is amazing. Scent made me so happy right then and there. Did a little dance right there in the store. Anyway, this is a sweet and fresh fragrance with a strong note of Ceylon cinnamon. The freshness is just coming from, well, typical fresh, like Accords. Doesn't really smell completely like anything, but I think there's like a note of mandarin in this, so that's probably playing into it. The Amyris in this, Amyris is kind of a balsamic, fruity, woody smell. You do get that in here, and there's like I said, there's Ceylon cinnamon in this. There's a lot of it. Ceylon cinnamon is actually a much fresher, deeper version of cinnamon in my opinion compared to the typical cinnamon, and also quite a bit of tonka bean I think is also in this, so it is sweet, but this is kind of like a summertime scent where if you want something a little bit deeper and richer, you can go for that. Granted, you can wear it at any time, but I just love the way this stuff smells. I think it's underrated from the house of MFK. I know they have a lot of great fresh offerings, but I love this stuff, and even when I pick it up and smell it and wear it since that time frame, because I've had this for a while, I still just get that feeling as soon as it hits my nose. Once again, from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, this is Amyris Homme Extrait de Parfum. Next up, coming from the house of Marc-Antoine Barras, this is Ganymede. Marc-Antoine Barras, Ganymede. This scent here, I mean, I love its uniqueness. I love the vibe it gives off. This fragrance just speaks to me. I just feel like it's something that really represents who I am. And this is one of those fragrances where if I said, you know what, screw it, I'm wearing one fragrance for the rest of my life, not that I'm ever gonna do that, but if I would consider some scents, this is gonna be a top contender. I mean, this fragrance just does it all for me. I can use it for anything and smell Absolutely amazing in my opinion. So a little bit of an ethereal, mineralic, watery smell to it. There's an ozonic nature to this. There's some violet in here, I think, kind of playing into that. Saffron is in here, so spicy, leathery feel. A little bit of a dried woody feel, not quite cedar wood like. I know there's a note of akigala wood in here. I still don't know what that smells like by itself. I need to see if I can get my nose on some or just look it up again. It's been a while since I looked up its characteristics, but I love this stuff. The immortelle in here kind of gives me kind of this burnt sugary kind of vibe, and it kind of blends really nicely with the mandarin that's in this fragrance. This stuff is insanely good, has inspired many variations of the scent thereafter, including by the same perfumer. I'm not gonna get into that, but anyway, this stuff is amazing. Ever since I got first got my nose on it, and since, I just am always blown away by how awesome this stuff is. Once again, from the house of Marc-Antoine Barras, this is Ganymede. All right, next one is coming from the house of Lorenzo Pizzalia. This is going to be Black Sea. Lorenzo Pizzalia, Black Sea. So I still remember when I got my nose on this, I bought a random round of samples from Lucky Scent. Matter of fact, this fragrance was simply one of the suggestions they just posted towards me. I don't even know why. So I said, hey, another house I haven't heard of, let's try it. You know, the name sounded interesting, the description sounded interesting. Let's give it a go with the sample. I got that sample in, I was blown away by how this stuff smells. And this is the fragrance here that made me rethink my attitude towards aquatics. If you remember in my earlier videos, I really didn't like aquatics, and I would still say they're not necessarily my favorite style of fragrance, but this one here made me change my mind in terms of what aquatics could be and have a different appreciation for them. So dark aquatic here, very green in nature, kind of salty, has a little bit of a seaweed vibe to it. There is a, I don't know if it's real ambergris. I mean, it probably isn't, but an ambergris-like feeling, that salty, watery, oceanic, marine smell, algae, you know, in essence. This one does have a little bit of a similarity to, what is it, Oud Mineral from Tom Ford. I think that's the one. However, I find that to be more woody overall, with the same kind of aquatic feel, where this one's more green overall, and it does have quite a bit of a powderiness to it as well. Stuff is strong, it's intriguing, people smell it, they don't go like, oh my god, it smells so good, but they're just interested in it. They're just like, hey, what is that? That smells very good and interesting, and I love the way this stuff smells, and I knew it was going to be a summertime staple for me when I first sampled it, and it has become that. Kind of put it to the side lately just to wear some of the newer fragrances I have, but in terms of being one of my top summer fragrances, or really, you know, a fragrance that is aquatic that I can kind of wear whenever, this one is that one. Once again, from the house of Lorenzo Pizzalia, this is Black Sea. Next one's coming from the house of Louis Vuitton. This is Pacific Chill. Louis Vuitton, Pacific Chill. So I still remember when I first got my nose on this, because this was actually my first Louis Vuitton. I went into a Louis Vuitton store with the intent of buying my first Louis Vuitton. So I had a few on the docket, so to speak, that I was on a short list. I think it was Afternoon Swim, and I don't remember the other one. There was another one I was considering, but this one had just come out. So I knew I wanted to also just get my nose on it, because I had smelled some Louis Vuittons up to that point. And this one impressed me so much, I was like, never mind, Pacific Chill is gonna be the one I get. The lemon drew me in first, that lemoniness that this fragrance has. And then after that, it's pretty much an assortment of fruits and vegetal notes. Kind of smells like a fruity green smoothie with a splash of lemon juice in it. I love the way this stuff smells. One of my top summer fragrances, one of my favorite summer fragrances. And this stuff here just continues to blow me away even to this day. Once again, from the house of Louis Vuitton, this is Pacific Chill. All right, next one's coming from the house of Xerjoff. This is Kemi. Xerjoff, Kemi. So this one also was a part of a set of samples I just bought randomly from Lucky Scent. I keep saying Lucky Scent because, you know, they have those little crappy little tiny samples that just have dipsticks. You can't really spray them. There's not really a lot to get a full wear out of them. But in my opinion, it is enough to just get your nose on the scent, and it's a lot more affordable than buying bigger samples. That works for me as a fragrance reviewer who's always buying stuff. I wouldn't say it and suggest most people do that, because you need to get the wearing experience overall. But it works for me. But this one is one of the ones that blew me away. I was immediately intrigued by this. I love the combination of the animalic notes in this, combining with the super attractive sweet smells that this fragrance has. Caramel kind of sweetness, smells a little bit like strawberry to me. Not a strawberry note listed, it just kind of gives me that vibe, so to speak. And then you definitely get some animalic, oud, and castor. I think there's castoreum in this as well. Might even be a little bit of a leatheriness kind of hiding in this. But yeah, you get both. But the sweetness is kind of the feature, and then the animalic woodiness and leatheriness is really there to just give it some depth and make it a little bit more interesting. But I think it is a perfect balance between those two. I'm still blown away as to how great this comes across. Once again, from the house of Xerjoff, this is Kemi. All right, moving on to one from the house of Ormond Jane. This is Montabaco Intensivo. Ormond Jane, Montabaco Intensivo. So, tell the story again. This one was one that was recommended by Quality Fragrance. I heard enough about it and heard enough other testimony from other people to where I just decided to give it a try. So this was a blind buy, and let me tell you, it blew me away then, still blows me away now. I mean, what a perfect blend for the, a guy in his 30s or so, which I am, and you just want something that just kind of works for everything, but is very different from everything else, but still has that capability to be pleasing to those around you. It's not different in a bad way, so to speak. Cooling notes, a lot of cooling notes, kind of fresh, cool air. Definitely a lot of juniper playing into that. I think there's a little bit of cardamom playing into that as well. Just other ozonic-like notes that give that feeling. Clean, leafy tobacco in here with some sweetness from notes like, I think there's a little bit of tonka bean in here, and it's just a dash of sweetness. Awesome stuff. And then you also got some dried wood, some dry cedar wood like notes as well, and an assortment of other things going on here, but that's pretty much what I get from it. And also a really nice tea blending in there, mixing with everything. To me, at first it was almost like a tea fragrance before it was a tobacco fragrance, but now that it has macerated for a bit, the tea is a little bit more balanced in there. It doesn't stand out to me as much, and I get more of the tobacco up front. Awesome stuff. Smells amazing. A great signature scent for a lot of people that just want something different but still works for everything. Once again, from the house of Ormond Jane, this is Montabaco Intensivo. All right, guys, next one's coming from the house of Roja Parfums, and it's going to be Isola Blu. Roja Parfums Isola Blu. So this one was also a part of a sample pack, but it was an intentional sample. I knew I wanted to get my nose on this one, and let me tell you, blown away by it, still am. I love the citrus of this fragrance. I get lemon, I get a little bit of an orange and grapefruit combination. There may be some lime in this too, but it's mostly lemon, grapefruit, orange for me in here. And then it blends with a really nice lavender, and I think there's some thyme as well. So lavender, thyme, aromatic kind of combination. And then underneath that, but really in the background, but it does make up the base, clean, dried woods, maybe a little bit of a musky feel in there as well. But this one's all about the citrus and the lavender. Great scent. I mean, just gentlemanly, classy. You smell like you got your stuff together, but also you can have fun with this fragrance. It does give me a little bit of a vacation vibes if I want to kind of keep that vibe of professionalism, but while I'm on vacation with it. This stuff has blown me away ever since I got my nose on it. I knew I had to pick it up immediately. One of my favorite pickups for the year, one of my best pickups for the year. Awesome summer fragrance. This stuff here will continue to impress me. Once again, from the house of Roja Parfums, this is Isola Blu. All right, next one's coming from the house of Savoir Faire. This is gonna be the Whiskey Rose. Savoir Faire, the Whiskey Rose. Now, to be fair, I haven't had this one that long. So, I can't say, oh, a lot of time has passed and I'm still impressed by it. But the impression that this had on me immediately, I just can't understate it. Drunken rose. I mean, like rose with a bourbon-based cocktail next to it. That's kind of the picture that comes to mind. And then with that, you get this blended, really nice, supple, but luxurious, leathery smell. Oh, I love it. A little bit of sweetness in there to balance it out. This fragrance blew me away. This was also a blind buy, and it just blew me away when I got it. I was intrigued by it just by the description of it, and man, awesome stuff here. I love this scent. I mean, my wife likes it, which is a plus, you know. She was definitely impressed by it as well. And granted, I know I haven't had it that long. I've only worn it once, but I'm definitely gonna give it some more wears. I would love to see what this does in the cold. Can't wait to give this some more testing as time goes along. Once again, from the house of Savoir Faire, this is the Whiskey Rose. All right, and last but certainly not least, coming from the house of Amouage, this is going to be King Blue. Amouage King Blue. All right, so I just got this fragrance in. I've only worn it once, but I did experience it beforehand. This was not a blind buy. I tested this in store when it first came out. I was blown away by it then. I loved it immediately. I tried it on skin. I don't always do that. I smelled it on the strip. I said, no, I need that on skin, man. I want to experience the full picture of that. Wife surprisingly loved this right off the bat too, and she still does. So this fragrance was one I knew I was ultimately going to get once I found it for a good price. I didn't feel like I had to, you know, spend all my money right then to get it, but I love this. So first of all, as many of you probably might know if you've had a chance to test this by now, there is oud in this. It does have some animalic, more so not so much animalic, not fecal or poopy or pissy or anything like that. More barnyard than anything. It is a little bit hay-like, it is quite earthy, and you can smell it up front. So to be fair, that might turn some people off to it. However, I love how this fragrance settles. Once it kind of gets past that initial phase of that, it kind of settles into, you still get the hay-like, but it's just not as forward. It's not as pungent, if you will. Settles in, gets a little bit more earthy overall, has kind of a resinous feel to it. There's a little bit of brightness with this fragrance coming by way of, they list mandarin, blackcurrant, stuff like that. I can't say I necessarily smell it. I just more so experience the brightness, a little bit of a spicy edge to this as well. And at the base of the fragrance, you have got a sandalwood patchouli combination that is just to die for, in my opinion. Matter of fact, it smells a little bit similar to the sandalwood patchouli combination you might find in Tom Ford Tobacco Oud, as well as Chanel Le Lion de Chanel. I think they both have a similar usage of the sandalwood and patchouli. It's just kind of smooth and woody and warm with just a touch of earthiness to it. I think that's coming from the patchouli, used in a slightly lower density, if you will, than the sandalwood. But boy, that combination smells good. And I just love the way this stuff smells. Granted, it's not for everyone. Some people just can't get past that hay barnyard-like oud that this has. I think it is Indian oud, if I'm not mistaken. But man, I love it. I love the way this stuff smells. Was impressed by it then, am impressed by it now that I got it, and I'm gonna wear this a lot. Once again, from the house of Amouage, this is going to be King Blue. All right, guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below, what are fragrances that you got your nose on, was thoroughly impressed by them, you had them for a while, you're still impressed by them, and you know these are scents that even if somebody doesn't always comment on it, you know they're like, hey, that scent definitely is something nice and different and special, and they smell different from other people and not in a bad way. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. So thanks again for watching all the way until the end. I really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.